All right, so for today, we have week 2, day 2, right? W2D2, polynomial review. So it's just kind of dealing with adding, maybe subtracting these things, and then multiplying them, and I think and then factoring difference of two squares. That's basically what we're covering. We're not going to factor trinomials, but they are going to want us to factor a lot of difference of two squares. So let's start off with this. This is just a simplified problem, and it's a trinomial plus a trinomial. And then later on, I'll remind you what happens if it's minus, right? But right now, this is just plus. So if you're adding, then whatever the term is in here, so right here we have a plus sign, right? Whatever the term is, you're going to have to distribute it, okay? You would have to distribute that in. But the thing about addition is when you distribute addition, it never changes anything. Okay? It's only when it says minus in the middle that it changes everything after it. Okay? So right here, even if you don't distribute, you should be fine. Okay? Nothing should really happen that's going to mess everything up. So I'm going to rewrite this. N to the third minus 7n squared plus 4n plus 3n plus 6n squared plus 2n cubed. Notice how none of the signs really change, right? Everything stayed the same. Now I'm going to look for my like terms, okay? So I'm just going to kind of highlight them here. I got my n cubed with my positive 2n cubed. I have my negative 7n squared with my positive 6n squared. And then I have my positive 4n adding with the positive 3n. Those are my like terms. So let's add them up. Let's go with the highest power, so the cube. So n cubed plus 2n cubed, that's going to be 3n cubed. The next highest power would be a 2. Negative 7n squared plus 6n squared is negative n squared. Okay? And then the last one, the blues right here, 4n plus 3n, that's 7n. And that's it. This is all you have to do. Okay? If this original problem had minus right here, if it had a minus, when you distribute that negative in, it would change every sign. So it would be a negative 3n minus 6n squared minus 2n cubed. Okay? So in your homework, they're doing two problems. Both are addition, so there's no minus problems in there. Okay? I don't know why the person who made it didn't do one, because that would have been helpful to practice one of those, right? But, I mean, you can practice one just by changing it to a minus and then distributing, okay, and doing the work that way. So, again, if it's plus, don't worry about it. Just write it out like normal. If it's a minus, though, you are going to have to distribute that, okay? So, all right, so that's the first one that they want us to do. There's two problems like that. After that, there's a couple problems that look like this. So this one says find the product. So no, just distribute. Okay, so we have 2x minus 3 times 2x plus 3. So to distribute, we'll go 2x times 2x and 2x times 3. So we'll do that first. So 2x times 2x, that's 4x squared. Right? 2x times 2x is 4x squared. 2x times 3, that's 6x, positive 6x. And then we'll distribute the negative 3. So negative 3 times 2x is negative 6x. And negative 3 times positive 3 is negative 9. So if you notice the middle terms, those are like terms. And a positive 6x minus 6x, that's 0. So these will cancel. So all that's left is 4x squared minus 9. And those are not like terms, so that's all you need. So that problem is done. okay, they're going to give us problems that look like this. Now, a lot of people make mistakes with these problems. A lot of people say that this is x squared minus 9, but this is wrong. Okay? It's not x squared minus 9. You will get an x squared. You will get a 9 somewhere in there. But that's not. We don't just distribute the powers in. If there's a plus or a minus in the inside of the parenthesis, you don't just distribute the powers. You have to actually write it out. So x minus 3 quantity squared becomes x minus 3 times x minus 3. Okay, so that is a common mistake that is made. I noticed that people made that mistake in the state testing if they had questions like that. But very common. So we're going to go ahead and distribute. Okay, so let's distribute this right here. We'll start with the x's. So x times x times negative 3. That's x squared minus 3x. And then we'll do the negative 3 times x and negative 3 times negative 3. So that's negative 3x plus 9. Now, negative 3x minus 3x does not cancel. Okay, that's a minus 6x. So this is x squared minus 6x plus 9. And we're done with that. Are we okay with everything so far? I mean, again, this is our review. If you're like, oh my gosh, we learned this. I know, we're reviewing for the state test, right? The state test tests you only on stuff you've learned. So that's why we're going over stuff you've learned. Okay? So forgive me if it's repetitive. It's just, we're trying not to make it too cumbersome, but it kind of gets a little boring sometimes if you're like, yeah, I know how to do this. But for some of you guys, this is going to be helpful. So here we go. Factor completely. Now for something like this, you're going to want to make sure that you have well, you got to remember how to factor a difference of 2 squares. Okay? Just to remind you. So hence, a squared minus b squared. You're going to want to write it like this. And then eventually it becomes a minus b, a plus b. So normally they don't have it in parentheses. You have to rewrite it in parentheses. And then you factor it. And it's just a little pattern. A minus b, a plus b. All right? So right now they gave me 9x squared minus 16y squared. So I got to check to see if it is a difference of 2 squares. So the first thing you do is you check the obvious. Is it a difference? Yeah, it's subtraction. So all right. Is it 2 terms that are squared? Well, 9x squared is 3x quantity squared. 16y squared is 4y quantity squared. So is it a difference of 2 squares? Yeah. Right? I have a difference of 2 squares right there. Something squared minus something squared. So that means that my answer will automatically come out as 3x. I'll put those in the front. 4y, I put these in the back. And then remember, minus, plus. And that's it. I know a lot of people have trouble sometimes with these, but to be honest with you, when I was learning factoring many years ago, I used to like this one because this one had a pattern to it. So as long as I could make it look like something, I knew how to factor it. I didn't have to think about it and be like, okay, what 2 numbers multiply to this and add up to that, right? Like I didn't have to do any of that. I just have to say, can I write this as something squared? Can I write this as something squared? And if I can, boom, 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 everything's done, minus, plus, got it, right away. So this would be your solution for that. So we got one more like this. This one looks a little bit less complicated. But again, we want to check, is it a difference of 2 squares? Very first thing you want to ask yourself is it a difference? Yes, it is. You see subtraction. Can I write them as something squared minus something squared. So what do I put in the first parenthesis here? Just an n. What do I put in the second parenthesis? Not 4m. Something squared becomes 4. 2m, right? 2m, because 2m squared is 4m squared, right? 2 squared is 4, m squared is m squared. So now that I got it to fit my pattern, now I know I just write down 2 sets of parentheses, n's in the front, 2m's in the back, minus, plus, and I'm done. So this is why I like these, because it's kind of like thoughtless. Once you know it, it's like, oh, here's my pattern. Let me just fill it in, right? Are we okay with those two? The difference of 2 square factoring? I think there's only, or maybe that might be it. Oh, that's it. Yeah, that's all we got to do.